My husband's work wife called me boring and thought I was jealous of her. But my husband's response shut her up, and now I'm sure she's losing her mind. I met this work wife last Thursday at the Christmas party. She introduced herself as the work wife, called my husband the work husband, and told everyone that when she saw me, she exclaimed, "Oh, we are two totally different people. How strange, isn't it?" I replied, "Not strange at all. We don't even know each other." She insisted, "No, I mean because Marcos and I get along so well. We know each other and have a lot in common. That's why he's my work husband." I didn't know what a manic pixie dream girl was, but apparently, she was one and thought it was something to brag about. I found the whole thing very amusing, but it wasn't amusing for long. On our way home, I started feeling uneasy, looking at my husband's profile, wondering what was going on in his head. He had already told me about his new coworker he got along with. He said she was great at her job and also a gamer like him. I don't even know how to hold a gaming controller properly. In fact, I'm not even sure if they still call it a controller nowadays. I knew they texted often, even on weekends, but I had never given it much thought. Until at 3:30 a.m., I sat on the toilet, in complete silence, so I wouldn't wake him, scrolling through his phone. She really is youthful and quirky. Her words, not mine. She is also very funny. Again, her words, not mine. In almost every message, she called him husband or work hubby. In one message, she warned him that men fall for her easily and said she just wanted to give him a heads up. I guess it's because she's that youthful, quirky, funny, manic pixie dream girl gamer. Her last message was from that same evening after we left the party. She wrote that she was annoyed he didn't say goodbye before leaving and commented that I surprised her because she didn't expect him to have this type of woman as a wife. I couldn't sleep that night. The image of those messages kept replaying in my mind like a bad movie. Every word written by that woman felt like a challenge to my place as a wife. "Men fall for me easily," she said, as if bragging. Who says that to a married man? And my husband, did he read that and say nothing? Just went along with the conversation as if it was normal? The next morning, while he slept peacefully, I sat there looking at him, trying to figure out what had changed. Did he know he was hurting me? Did he think this was harmless? I didn't know, but the weight of it all was so overwhelming that I decided I needed to address it. I'm not the kind of person who accepts being disrespected. When he woke up, I was in the kitchen making coffee. I pretended everything was normal, even though I was a ball of nerves. He walked in, kissed me on the forehead, and started talking about his day. I just listened, waiting for the right moment. Then out of nowhere, I asked, "Do you think it's normal for your coworker to call you her work husband?" He stopped, visibly surprised, then laughed like it was a joke.
Oh, that?
"It's just a joke. She's like that with everyone." "Everyone?" I asked, looking directly at him. "Does she call other men her husband and send texts saying they need to be careful because they might fall for her?" His smile vanished. He realized I knew more than he wanted me to. "You went through my phone?" he asked, now defensive.
I did.
"And I don't regret it. Because while I've been here trusting you, that woman has clearly been testing boundaries. And worse, you've been letting her." He tried to argue, saying it was nothing serious, that the messages were harmless. But I couldn't listen anymore. Something inside me snapped. "Harmless? You don't see the problem here? She's literally flirting with you while knowing you're married. And instead of setting boundaries, you've been encouraging it. Replying to her texts like this is all normal. Do you think this is respectful to me? To our marriage?" He went silent. For the first time, he didn't have an immediate answer. And that only made me angrier. I stood up, my voice shaking with rage. "Do you know what's sadder, Marcos? It's not even that she's trying something. It's that you didn't defend me. That you didn't shut this down from the start. Because if the roles were reversed and I were getting messages like that from a male coworker, you'd lose your mind." He tried to justify himself, saying it wasn't a big deal and that I was overreacting, but I knew this was deeper than he wanted to admit. It was about respect, about loyalty. And at that moment, I realized I couldn't just let this slide. I decided I needed to act. If he didn't have the courage to set boundaries, I would. I grabbed my phone and looked up her number. He tried to stop me, but I was determined. "If you won't handle this, I will." When she answered, her voice sounded sweet and casual, as if expecting a friendly conversation. "Hi, this is Marcos's wife. I want to make something very clear to you. I know what you're doing, and it stops now. You might think it's funny or charming to play work wife, but let me explain something to you. My husband already has a wife, and that person is me. She tried to defend herself, saying it was just a joke, but I cut her off. A joke? Then stop joking with things that aren't yours. Stop texting him on weekends. Stop calling him husband. And most importantly, stop acting like you're more important than you are. Because let me tell you, you're not. I hung up before she could respond. My husband just stood there, stunned, not knowing what to say. But I wasn't done. Marcos, I want you to choose. Because for me, this isn't negotiable. Either you completely shut down anything that crosses the line or I'm out. I'm not going to stay in a marriage where I have to compete with a work wife or anyone else. Decide now. He stood there, silent, knowing that any wrong answer would cost him more than he was prepared to lose. Finally, he agreed. He said he would handle it, that I was right, and that he regretted not seeing the issue sooner. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But something inside me had already shifted. The trust was broken, and I knew it would take a long time to feel secure again. Deep down, I wondered if he truly understood the gravity of the situation or if he was just saying what I wanted to hear. But at that moment, I had done what I needed to do. And if he couldn't respect that, I was already ready to move on. Because one thing became very clear to me: I would never again allow myself to be treated like a second option in anyone's life. I wanted to believe him. As difficult as it was, I needed to trust his word. When he left for work that morning, he promised me he would handle everything. He said that by the time he got home, it would all be resolved and I'd never have to worry about that woman again. His tone seemed sincere, and despite my doubts, I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. I spent the day trying to distract myself, but the anxiety gnawed at me. Doubts crept in with every passing minute, leaving me restless. Would he really do what he promised? Or was he just trying to calm the situation, so I'd let it go? These thoughts stayed with me all day as I waited for him to come home. When he finally arrived, he seemed calm, even relieved. He kissed me on the forehead and said, "It's all sorted. You don't need to worry about it anymore." His eyes met mine with a seriousness that used to reassure me, and for a moment, I let my guard down. Maybe, just maybe, he was telling the truth. He took a shower, had dinner with me, and acted as if nothing had happened. As much as the doubt lingered in the back of my mind, I decided trusting him was the right thing to do. At least for now. But the peace didn't last long. Later that night, while he was in the bedroom, my phone buzzed. It was a message. When I opened it, my blood turned to ice. It was a video from an unknown number. At first, I hesitated, but something inside me urged me to press play. As the video began, my heart sank. There she was, the so-called work wife, recording herself at what was clearly their office. And then, out of nowhere, my husband appeared in the frame. They seemed to be talking, with her looking insistent about something. Before I could fully process what was happening, she stepped forward and kissed him. It wasn't just a quick peck, it was a long, lingering kiss, like a dramatic farewell. For a moment, he seemed to hesitate, but then he kissed her back. It felt like someone had pulled the ground out from under me. I sat there, frozen, watching the video as my trust shattered into pieces. My hands trembled, my chest tightened, and the tears started falling before I could stop them. I walked to the bedroom where he was, holding the phone with the video still open. He looked at me, confused by the expression on my face, but when I held the phone out to him, his confusion quickly turned to panic. He grabbed it, and as he watched the video, his reaction was a mix of shock and guilt. This isn't what it looks like," he stammered, his voice breaking. I laughed bitterly, a sound filled with pain. "It's not what it looks like. It's right there in front of me. You promised me you'd handle it. You made me believe I could trust you. And now this." He started trying to explain, saying he had gone to talk to her to end things, that she kissed him out of nowhere, that he only responded because he was nervous. Every word that came out of his mouth felt like a desperate attempt to erase what I had just seen. "Do you think I'm stupid? That I believe this was just a goodbye kiss?" My voice was filled with a rage I didn't even know I had inside me. "You promised. You looked me in the eyes and said it was over, but all you've done is trample on my dignity." He tried to approach me, but I stepped back. The pain was unbearable, overwhelming. I was shattered. My marriage, my trust, everything felt like it had been a facade. I could barely look at him, but at the same time, I needed answers. "Why did you do this?" I asked, my voice now a whisper filled with tears. He stood there, silent, staring at me as if carefully choosing his next words. And then, finally, he said something. Something that left me completely in shock. I was devastated, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face as he stood there, trying to justify the unjustifiable. When I finally gathered the strength to speak, my voice was shaky but laced with anger and pain. How dare you tell me this is nothing, Marcos? I saw the video. The two of you kissing like a couple in love. And now you expect me to believe it was just a goodbye. He raised his hands in a gesture of surrender, as if trying to calm the situation. That's exactly what it was, a goodbye. I went there to end it all just like I promised you. She got emotional, insisted, and I didn't know how to react in the moment. But it doesn't mean anything to me. She doesn't mean anything. You have to believe me because now I'm only yours. I laughed bitterly, a laugh filled with despair from someone who no longer knew who or what to trust. You think words can erase this? That I'm just going to forget what I saw? He stepped closer, this time more serious, his eyes locked onto mine. I know I messed up, but I'll never let this happen again. I'm going to prove it to you right now. Without hesitation, he grabbed his phone, unlocked it, and showed me his conversation with her. Before I could say anything, he blocked her number right in front of me and started recording a voice message. His voice was firm, but not aggressive. Look, this ends here. I don't want any more contact between us. What happened was a mistake and should never have gone this far. I love my wife, and she's the only one I want to be with. Please respect that and don't reach out to me again. When he finished, he sent the message and set the phone down, looking at me as if waiting for my reaction. I was in shock at his actions, but even so, it didn't feel like enough. I grabbed my own phone, driven by a mix of anger and determination, and decided she needed to hear from me too. I recorded my message without hesitation. You think you can just walk in and destroy my marriage, don't you? Because that's exactly what you tried to do. But let me tell you something, he's my man. Always has been, always will be. No matter what you do, you'll never be more than a jealous woman who doesn't know how to respect boundaries. Marcos is perfect, and now he's only mine. So keep your eyes off him and move on because your part in this story is over. I sent the message and set my phone aside, taking a deep breath as though I'd just emerged from battle. He looked at me with a mixture of relief and guilt, but this time, he didn't try to justify anything else. He simply held my hands, his gaze steady on mine. I love you, and I'll never let anything or anyone put our marriage at risk again. I know it'll be hard for you to trust me, but I'll do everything in my power to prove that I'm worthy of you. His eyes glistened, and at that moment, I wanted to believe him. I wanted to think he was sincere, that he was truly sorry, and that maybe it was possible to rebuild what we had. I loved him. That was never in question. And despite everything, I wanted to try. I love you too, Marcos. But you need to understand this won't be easy for me. I'll try to trust you, but you have to help me. He nodded, and for the first time that night, I felt a small sense of relief in my chest. We decided to move forward, leaving that episode behind. He seemed committed to proving his sincerity, and though I was filled with doubt, I chose to believe him. Did I do the right thing by trusting him? After that tumultuous night, I still felt uneasy. Despite deciding to trust Marcos, something inside me was not completely at peace. I decided to confide in some friends, people I had always trusted, hoping they would support me and validate my decision. After all, I needed to hear from others that I wasn't making a mistake. When I told them everything, the video, Marcos's promise, the audio he sent her, the silence in the group was almost deafening. Until one of them, Clara, finally spoke. Friend, I have to be honest. It's absurd that you're staying with him after this. He cheated on you, lied to you, and now he's trying to fix things like nothing ever happened. I can't understand why you're still with him. The others agreed. One by one, they started saying I deserved better, that Marcos wasn't trustworthy, and that they should never have let me marry him. That deeply bothered me. Why were they so against him? Why did they seem so eager for me to leave him? You don't understand, I said, trying to stay calm. He made a mistake, but he's already fixed it. He blocked that woman, proved to me that he loves me, and we're trying to move past this together. Why can't you support me? That's when Clara said something that left me stunned. Maybe we can't support you because we know he's not the perfect man you think he is. I turned to her, confused and angry. What's that supposed to mean? She sighed, clearly hesitating before continuing. It means he already tried to hit on me before you two got married. And not just me. He also hit on Luisa. I was in shock. I looked at Luisa, expecting her to deny it, but she just averted her gaze, as if confirming everything. You're joking, right? I asked, my voice rising. This is ridiculous. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because we knew you wouldn't believe us, Clara replied. You always put him on a pedestal. Always think he's perfect. But he's not. He's already shown you who he is, and you keep ignoring it. That conversation made me furious. These were my friends. How could they make up something like this about the man I loved? It was impossible for me to believe Marcos would do something so low. He had always been caring, devoted, and even with what had recently happened, I believed he was truly remorseful. You're just jealous, I said, my voice full of frustration. You see that he loves me, that we're fine, and you can't handle it. I thought you were my friends, but now I see you've been rooting against me this whole time. Clara tried to argue, but I didn't want to listen. Right then and there, I took out my phone and blocked all of them. To me, that conversation was over. If they couldn't respect my decision to stay with Marcos, then they didn't deserve to be in my life. As I headed home, my mind was a mess. Part of me felt betrayed by them. Why would they make up something like that? And why now, just as I was trying to repair my marriage? Another part of me, however, couldn't ignore the tiny doubt they had planted in my mind. But I chose to silence it. When I got home, Marcos was waiting for me, smiling as if nothing had happened. And in that moment, I decided to bury it all. I loved him, I trusted him, and I believed that together we were stronger than anything trying to tear us apart.